Welcome viewers once again to this NPTEL lecture on education leadership. In the last class we are discussing about professional ethics and values in teaching. Today we will also continue this the same thing. So, being the professional of higher moral and catalyst of social change, the teachers are committed to the learners, colleges and other stakeholders. So, we have already discussed that being in the public service and the teachers are supposed to deliver the their duties and responsibilities for all stakeholders. So, and they are supposed to be a professional of high moral and the change catalyst in the society, and they are more committed to all their learners, their the colleagues, the stakeholders in the community, all so to each and every member in that profession or in that field, in the field of educations. So, we have already discussed all these things, but again we will just revise it again once again. So, some of these are like acknowledge and respect the uniqueness that we have already discussed, that he has to respect the opinion, their strengths and weaknesses of each and every learner, the stakeholders. So, the teachers, they are supposed to acknowledge and respect the uniqueness of each and every individual learner and each and every individual stakeholder with their individuality, with their specific needs and their requirements, and they are ready to willing to provide appropriate learning experiences to cater to their needs. Similarly, to motivate and inspire the people. Next is that educational leader or the teachers, they are supposed to inspire others, so that others will be more fascinated by this profession, they will love this profession, they will love learning, they will love to be engaged in the different kinds of teaching learning activities. So, motivate and inspire people with a view to helping each. So, we are the teachers are not supposed to discriminate. So, in that way they should motivate and inspire each and every learner, each and every individual learner, and and their orientation should be to help that learner, to help that individual in actually in achieving their maximum potential, in actualizing their goals. So, and realizing their potential and achieving their goals, and acquiring the high level of academic performance. Similarly, work with the colleagues. The teachers are also supposed to work with their colleagues in terms of their professional practice, sharing it with others, research also, research activities, engage themselves with their colleagues in action research and other kinds of empirical research, developing the networking for promoting collegiality and sharing the professional practices, and organize the different kinds of workshops, training programs in the school campus, in the college campus. Similarly, cooperate and collaborate with the parents and other academic agencies, guardians, caregivers with respect and trust for the well-being of every students. As you have already discussed that they have to develop the network with other agencies, some non-government agencies, even health agencies, counseling agencies, placement agencies, consulting agencies, and the all kind of even government organizations also, to develop the networking with other things, so that they can invite people from time to time, they can organize different kinds of workshop, training programs, they can organize health programs also for the community development. So, and not only to develop mutual respect and trust, but to make their organizations, educational institutions, and their staff and their students and active participants in the social development, in the socio-economic development of the country, in the social development process. So, they have to cooperate and collaborate with not only with the stakeholders, but with other agencies as well. As we have already discussed, the teachers are the reflective practitioners. They are supposed to reflect upon their own practices, be it pedagogy, be it administration, be it management, etc. So, in that way, being the reflective practitioner, they contribute to the review and revision of the policies. As we are supposed to update our domain knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, etc., we have to update our curriculum, we have to update our syllabus, we have to update our pedagogy. So, in order to address the students' needs, in order to address the changing societal needs. So, we have the teachers have to engage actively in the revision of the syllabus, curricula from time to time, and always be vigilant about what is going on in other countries, what is the latest update. Then critically evaluating the the other countries courses, curricula for school education, for college education, higher education. Similarly, engage themselves in research, as we have already discussed that research is the significant component, significant part, or you can say it's a academic or professional obligation of the teacher to engage themselves in the research. And ongoing professional development activities, not only to participate in conferences and workshops etc. themselves, but also to organize different kinds of workshops and conferences and FDPs in their own institution, in their own educational institution, and invite people from others, invite the other other students, prospective teachers, student learners from other places to orient them, and maintaining the professional integrity by assuming their duties and responsibilities. And yes, definitely being the professional, they have to maintain their professional dignity, prestige in the society by assuming their duties, responsibilities, and both institutional as well as the personal duties. Now, in this context, we will see this YouTube video which can better explain this concept.
Ethics as a field of study is sort of like a tree with 10,000 branches that all disagree with each other. With such variances, then how do we begin to understand ethics? One way to really think about ethics is through its historical meaning, which has to do with a person's ethos. This is the idea that ethics is connected with character, and it's sort of a high standard approach to what it means to act in a particularly cogent way. And then there's a more important conceptual distinction a person can make, particularly between ethics and morals. This is needed because when defining ethics, many will use the word morals interchangeably. There is, however, some disagreement among scholars as to the difference between morals and ethics. One school of thought asserts that morality is inherently founded on spiritual principles, one's responsibility to a supernatural being or goal. Ethics, on the other hand, relies on materialist and social consequences, not spiritual ones, in order to determine what is ethical or not. Other schools of thought argue that this line between morals and ethics is arbitrary. Instead, they believe ethics is simply a formal branch of philosophy that concerns itself with the study of morals and their derivation. This group would assert that ethics is a philosophy of morals. We posit that ethics is not the same thing as morality. Consider, for example, how arbitrary moral stances tend to be, especially when they're outside of one's own culture or religious beliefs. What may seem justifiable in one culture can easily be problematic in another. In addition, being ethical is not simply following a law or rules that have been established. In fact, some of our most revered historical/modern figures not only disagreed with laws and rules they deemed to be unethical, but also fought against them, and in some cases, it cost them their lives. Ethics, rather, emphasizes the responsibility and capability of the individual to come to his or her own conclusions through reasoning, and to determine which principles are relevant in a particular case. They are well-founded standards of right and wrong that prescribe what humans ought to do, usually in terms of rights, obligations, fairness, or specific virtues. Ethics is the reasonable obligation for us to refrain from hurting others. Living ethically also requires the continuous effort of studying our own beliefs and conduct, and striving to ensure that we, and the institutions we help to shape, live up to standards that are reasonable and evidence-based. It is knowing that before we can do the right thing, one has to figure out what the right thing is.
So, welcome once again. So, whatever we have discussed, the video has better explained it. Now, we will discuss about current ethical challenges in teaching professions. So, being a teacher, being an educational leader, being in this profession, this profession has also some hazards. So, we are also facing so many challenges nowadays. So, what are these challenges? Let us identify these challenges and how to deal with it. So, current ethical challenges in teaching professions are like, for example, corruption. Is the corruption, as you know, it is omnipresent nowadays, is omnipresent. So, educational institutions or this teaching profession is they cannot be isolated from this. So, corruption, academic fraud, corruption, how it prevails in terms of academic fraud. So, false certificates, false degrees, etc., academic fraud, bribes and illegal fees for the admissions, in so many private colleges, self-finance colleges, skyrocketing fees, etc., and bribing some and illegal fees for admission, which is not justified. Then preferential promotion and placements, in recruitments and the promotions, then misuse of public resources for private benefits. So, abuse of the official powers. These are the these phases of corruption in even in the academic domain, in the education domain and teaching professions. So, how to curb it, how to remove all these things, how to mitigate those things. Again, it should be every teacher's effort, it should be every educational leaders, every educational professionals commitment to to eradicate, to remove these kind of corruptions from this profession. Next comes the privatizations of the educational institution, leading towards mushrooming of the self-financing college schools. As you can see very much, we have in the last 10-15 years, mushrooming engineering colleges, mushrooming medical colleges, mushrooming management schools, etc., etc. So, this privatization has its advantages as well as disadvantages also. So, whatever was any new scheme and policy, when we are introducing it, if you are not cautious about its its misutilization or its extra exploitation of that kind of thing, then definitely it is going to happen. So, privatization of educational institutions leading towards the mushrooming of different kinds of self-financing colleges. So, here we are commercializing the degrees without acquiring the some sufficient knowledge or quality without acquiring the quality education. So, automatically the low quality teaching, no job security. When you pass out from these kind of schools and colleges, you are not getting any job, etc. You have already spent the money and the time, etc., but your whatever you have gained, you have learned out of that is not market ready, is not suiting to the employer's requirements. Exploitation of, in that context, in this privatization context, also some of the teachers are also exploited like anything, like they have unnecessarily they are being engaged in all kinds of clerical duties, all kinds of other jobs, administrative jobs, etc., which they are not supposed to do, because they are not supposed to do so much, but they are being over exploited for these kind of things. And high tuition fees for the students and the parents, also it's high tuition fees is it's very, it is a kind of utter harassment for the parents. But with the mushrooming private colleges, the parents, the learners, the students, they think that yes, maybe that their aspiration for the higher education, for some technical education will be fulfilled, but actually these private colleges and the institutions, so they are misutilizing their utilizing their their existence and exploiting the people. So, automatically, so these institutions cannot be sustainable over a period of time, but in this, during this period only, they are they are actually harming the society, they are actually harming the stakeholders rather than doing any good for the society. So, similarly, another thing is the political interference. As you can see from the recent news of how the political political parties or say students are engaged in different kind of political activities, creating unrest in the campus, then all kinds of strikes, students unrest, violations of the rules, laws, and bad conduct, and engage themselves in all kinds of riots and all kinds of nuisance behavior. So, these are these are the examples of political interference. And so, actually the youth power, the students are not actually properly guided, properly being guided towards the higher goals in life or higher goals in their professional career. So, political interference in terms of favoritism, nepotism, injustice, irregularities in appointments. Similarly, you can see in the different central universities, state universities is going on, posting, transfer of misconduct, unethical behavior, constant conflict between the management and the students and the authorities and the stakeholders, constant conflict, then violations, all kinds of riots, all kinds of unusual delay in conducting the examinations, and the degrees are fake degrees. All kinds of situations are coming up. So, as a part of this poor academic standard and the conflict. So, lack of trust and care, teacher student relationship, unfair assessment leading to the chaos in the campus. So, in the campus if such kind of ethical violence, conflicts, moral conflict, ethical violence, bad conduct, misconduct, all kinds of things happens, automatically the bond between teacher and student breaches actually. So, there is no mutual respect, no mutual trust. So, lack of trust and care appears in the campus, in the environment. There are in some of the colleges and some of the institutions, some of the schools also, teachers absenteeism is a regular feature. Teachers absenteeism, be it in the rural school, village school, some of the public school, private colleges and the government colleges, anywhere it can be at any level, teachers absenteeism. So, when that means that shows that how unprofessional the teachers are, that shows that they don't love their profession, that shows that they are not committed to their professions. So, hence it is a suggestion like from the very beginning, like for example, the teachers as especially in case of the school teachers, as because they don't get any other job, they don't compete, they can't compete in competitive government jobs, etc. So, they somehow they enter into this profession, being a school teacher or the college teacher, etc., and then land up yes, earning some money, etc. But after that they don't they don't remain committed and motivated, because they don't like the profession, and the teaching profession is not their first choice, and by accident or by that means by accidentally or by second choice or third choice, they have landed up in this profession. So, they don't like the profession, but don't like their profession, they have just taken this job for maintaining their livelihood, etc. So, in that situation, teachers absenteeism is very high. So, some teachers also, even though they are the government employees, even though they are full time teachers, so they are doing the part time business, part time teaching profession and doing the full time business in somewhere else. So, teaching is their part time job, that for some time 1 hour 2 hour they are coming to the school or colleges, and the remaining hours they are engaged in doing some or other business. Okay. So, this is another factor in the current scenario. Then the outdated teacher education curriculum, it is again another, it is our responsibility of the government bodies or the authorities to to enforce the change, like to engage the teachers and to bring the curriculum revision committees to sit together again and again. So, because outdated curriculum neither in the school education nor in the teacher education will help us in any way. So, outdated, similarly our teacher education curriculum should also be updated along with our school education or college education curriculum, and with no emphasis on the moral conduct, teaching aptitude test, internship, as we have already discussed. So, even though the teacher education curriculum is there and the guidelines are there, all kinds of things are written in the handbook, but no emphasis has been given on the moral conduct or teaching aptitude test, internship practices, like at the initial stage, so no that means the prospective students, prospective teachers aptitudes for teaching is not being is not being measured, is not being assessed. So, those whoever are appearing in the aptitude teaching entrance test or the teaching education entrance test, so we are not measuring their teaching aptitude. Whether, so that does not mean that everybody should be a born teacher, that is not the meaning, but the teacher can be trained, the teacher can develop the competencies, but they must first thing is they must love the profession, they must have some interest to get into this job, get into this profession, they must have some liking to serve the pupils, students, learners, some kind of liking and interest for this job. And again in our teacher education curriculum, even though we have so many foundation papers, specialized papers, methodology papers, this and that, we don't have the exclusive paper on the professional ethics and code of conduct. We have the philosophy paper, we have the other papers like psychology, management, pedagogy, etc., but we don't have that exclusive paper on professional ethics. So, during this pre-service training period, all the teachers, prospective teachers, student teachers, they should be apprised of what they are supposed to do, how they are supposed to behave in that profession. So, communication and cultural barriers, lack of empathy, trust, as you know, because of this, our society is changing, and it's we are facing we are facing so many problems, the problems of ethical violence, unemployment, and then financial crisis, all kinds of things. So, the public level of stress has also increased, and as a result of that, trust is not there, bonding is not there. Everybody is impatient, they are very aggressive in. So, nobody is willing to or can wait for some time to help others or gratify. So, they are in a hurry to gratify their own needs. They are not committed, they are very self oriented, very selfish. So, there is lack of empathy, trust in the society, and they do not have that means all of us we are guided, we are being guided by our individual goal, individual self interest, and for achieving those things we do not hesitate to follow any kind of nepotism and corrupt practices. We do not. So, these are the problems, the problems in the society automatically comes or being dragged into the education institution as well, because we are the human beings, we are present everywhere and we are the stakeholders. So, these are some of the some of the sickness that prevails in our society. These are some of the ills that we have to deal with, we have to counteract with, we have to improve. So, in order to restore our education system, in order to improve our education system, in order to bring the sustainability and trust in our education system. So, we need to ask certain questions, So, to ourselves, to analyze all these challenges and to rationalize it, to justify it, and how to seek some of the remedies or the strategies for solutions. So, for example, in what sense is teaching an ethical and moral enterprise? Okay. So, we have to, all of us, all the practitioners, we have to analyze it, we have to rationalize it, in what sense, in which way teaching is ethical. So, if I am behaving in a particular way, am I ethical? And whether it is a moral enterprise, as because it involves a human being. So, it's a human enterprise. When human enterprise is there, it is bound to be moral, and whether it is a moral enterprise or not, we have to evaluate our own system, our own practices. What is the nature of the ethical and the moral conflicts confronting the teachers, and how do they think about them? So, what are the moral conflicts the teachers are facing nowadays in the school environment, in the school campus, in the institutions, the nature of that their moral ethical conflicts, and the deep rooted causes of that, and how to curb those, how to mitigate those, and how they perceive the situation as a whole, because on the day to day basis, whatever moral and ethical conflict they are facing, like in terms of in admission process, in examination process, in classroom practices, in managing huge students, large number of students in the classroom with poor infrastructure, exclusive, the timetable overloaded, the daily timetable overloaded with 10-15 classes with 7 to 8 hours teaching load. Besides that, other co-curricular administrative load. So, what sort of conflict they are facing on the day to day basis, and how do they perceive it, what do they realize about this? What must the teacher educators do in that context? If the day to day, the school level, the day to day basis, the school teachers, they are facing so much of workload, so much of conflict, then how, being the teacher educator, we can help them, we can curb their we can reduce their workloads, we can curb their tension and the stress, and we can help them out. So, they need to do reflection on what not that the teacher practitioners, the teaching practitioners, or the school teachers themselves, but the authorities like the teacher educators, the policy makers, the headmasters, the principals, and those who are directly or indirectly associated with that organization, they must also think about this, their stresses, their conflict, their problems, and try to find out the solutions. Thank you very much.